Economics in flux, how Kenya overtook Ethiopia to rule East Africa. A different kind of battle is unfolding in East Africa, not with arms or borders, but in headline GDP figures. Kenya's shilling is on its year, Ethiopia's Birr has been liberated, and IMF projections now show a new leader in the region. I am Samiya Mohammed, and this is Analytica Today. In April 2025, the IMF forecasts Kenya's nominal GDP at $132 billion, surpassing Ethiopia's $117 billion for the first time in East Africa's history. Kenya rode a 21% currency rally in 2024, while Ethiopia allowed its birr to float, depreciating by over 55% to secure a $3.4 billion IMF loan and $16.6 billion in World Bank support. But beneath these flashy figures lie real impacts on jobs, imports, and the average household. Today we'll unpack what these shifts mean, not just for investors, but for farmers, shopkeepers, and the next generation of entrepreneurs in both capitals. When the IMF lines up to 2025's GDP projections, Kenya pulling ahead at $132 billion versus Ethiopia's $170 billion is a headline maker, but what does it really tell us? Nominal GDP in dollar terms is heavily influenced by exchange rate moves. A stronger shilling makes Kenya's output look larger on the world stage, while a weaker birr shrinks Ethiopia's figure, even if local production holds steady. This shift matters politically and economically. International leaders, rating agencies, and portfolio investors all watch dollar value GDP to gauge market size and creditworthiness. Kenya's rise signals growing confidence that Nairobi can manage its finances and attract inflows. Conversely, Ethiopia's drop in dollar terms underscores the immediate pain of monetary reform, yet it doesn't negate the fact that in real terms factories may still be humming and harvest still feeding local markets. Together, Kenya and Ethiopia now account for nearly half of East Africa's total GDP of roughly $512 billion. That concentration highlights how the fortunes of these two economies ripple across the region, affecting trade corridors, currency unions, and even the political heft each country carries in the East African community. Kenya's shilling didn't just tick upward, it soared by 21% in 2024. The surge was fueled by record remittance inflows from its global diaspora, a strategic buyback of Eurobonds that calmed credit markets, and a stop-start recovery in tourism after the pandemic lull. Every dollar that flows in makes it cheaper for Kenya to service foreign debt and keeps import bills manageable, a boon for businesses that rely on imported machinery, fuel, and raw materials. But currency strength is only half the story. Kenya's economy was diversified far beyond its traditional staples. All of this underpins a growth rate that accelerated in around 5.4% in 2024, is projected to hit 5.6% in 2025. For Kenyan policymakers, the challenge now is to maintain fiscal discipline, balancing infrastructure spending with debt sustainability, and to ensure that growth benefits aren't confined to Nairobi's rooftop boardrooms, but spread into rural countries and informal settlements. In July 2024, Addis Ababa took the bold step of floating its long-pegged birr. The result was swift 55% depreciation, painful for importers and consumers facing higher prices, and yet the very move unlocked lifeline worth over $20 billion in concessional financing. In the short term, shoppers saw groceries and cooking oil jump in price. Inflation briefly spiked. But within months, headline inflation eased back below 13% as markets adjust and the central bank tightened monetary policy. Why endure the pain? A floating exchange rate lays the foundation for a more competitive export sector. Ethiopian leather goods, coffee, and textiles can now compete without the burden of overall currency. It also signals to global investors that policy adjusts to market signals, reducing the black market premium that once drove hard currency transactions underground. Beyond the birr, Ethiopia's reform agenda includes opening telecommunications to private operators, reforming state-owned enterprises, and modernizing customs procedures. If these structural shifts stick, we could see a multiplication effect. Deeper capital markets attracting foreign direct investment, domestic industries scaling up for regional markets, and improved debt sustainability as forex reserves rebuild. In other words, the temporary contraction in dollar value GDP could be the price of admission for stronger, more inclusive growth down the road. Kenya's ascent solidifies Nairobi's position as East Africa's commercial hub. Multinationals are more likely to set up regional headquarters. Their financial institutions will continue deepening capital markets from government bonds to corporate debt issuances. Improved connectivity via the Lamu Port and Standard Gauge Railway also enhances Kenya's role as trade gateway for its landlocked neighbors. Yet Ethiopia's rebound story is just beginning. If Addis can maintain its reform momentum successfully privatizing key sectors, strengthening its banking system and channeling foreign exchange inflows into productive investment, it could outpace its neighbors in real GDP growth. The next decade may see Ethiopia's young population benefit from new jobs in manufacturing parks and agro-processing zones, lifting millions out of poverty. Both countries share common risks. Global growth is expected to slow, geopolitical tensions could disrupt supply chains, and climate shocks remain ever present. Their ability to adapt through prudent fiscal management, social safety nets for vulnerable groups, and regional cooperation on trade and security will ultimately determine whether this GDP ranking is a lasting realignment or a temporary snapshot in ongoing East African rivalry. So has Kenya won the East Africa growth race? Yes, in headline GDP terms for 2025 thanks to a stronger shilling and a maturing economy. Yet Ethiopia's short-term setbacks were designed to pave the way for deeper, more sustainable growth. If Addis Ababa can embed its reforms, stabilize prices, liberalize markets, and unlock private investment, the region's economic leaderboard may well look very different by 2030. I am Samiya Mohammed, and this is Analytica Today. If you found this analysis insightful, subscribe for more deep dives, share your views below, and stay tuned as we continue to track East Africa's evolving economic story.